The creation of a family in and of itself involves change. And unlike a business where maybe you have a change that gets implemented and then kind of scrapped a few years later, those changes in families are permanent. When you add a member of a family to the household, even bringing on a dog to your house, it's a change that you can't back away from. There's no taking the kid back to the hospital. There's kind of a three-step process towards change. There's the unfreezing part where you kind of have to mobilize and actually engage in the change. And for most families, this happens, the day that the kid comes home from the hospital, maybe even before, when you realize you're pregnant and you start making the preparations. So you kind of have to unfreeze. You have to move away from the way that you've been and figure out some new ways of being. Then you actually go through the transition. And in many ways, that's kind of the bumpiest part, because this is when you are dropping the kid off for their first day of school, or figuring out how to breastfeed a new baby, figuring out how to juggle 2 children or 4 children as you kind of bring new kids home from the hospital. For parents of older kids, getting into high school and suddenly having to, relinquish all this time you might have spent with your child as they go off and do these other activities is something I think a lot of families adjust to, and there's a lot of emotions involved. So as people transition, different members of the family are going to react differently. There's people that may really embrace the change and be excited about it. There's going to be people that may resist the change. And then at the end of any change process is what we call the refreezing, when the change becomes permanent. So again, unlike in a business where you might be able to say, oh, that merger didn't work out, let's go back to our separate ways. I'm thinking of like AOL and Time Warner. You can't do that in a family. So you have to find a way to kind of make the changes permanent and honor everybody's feelings and emotions that have been arisen by a big change, and really find some new ways of being that work for everyone in the family.